Hello everyone and welcome to the first impressions feature of ClickUp. Now this is a project management software that is designed for teams as well as individuals to manage different projects and activities. In today's feature, we're going to give you a full outline of the application. We're going to dive into the features, what devices it's available on, as well as pricing. So you can walk away with hopefully everything you need to know about ClickUp. So let's dive into today's feature. So guys, here we are with ClickUp for web in front of us. Now, just to be clear, it is only not available just on web. It is available on Windows, Mac, so the desktop versions that is, Amazon devices, which is very rare, iOS and Android devices, as well as a Linux edition. So you're going to find this application very cross-platform and access a very similar experience across the board, which is great news. They also have additional experiences for Amazon Echo, also for Google Assistant for any voice communication with this application. You also have a Chrome Web Store extension, as well as Safari and Firefox. And I believe, although I won't be going into detail in this review, it's mainly for checking up on projects and adding tasks as well, which is something that a lot of people like to have across their browser. You have also got a Gmail extension, but if you guys want a deeper dive into those sort of additional extensions, let me know in the comments below. So here we are with ClickUp. Now it's really simple. The first thing I want to sort of show you is when you sign up, you don't just have the option to do one experience and that's team only. You can choose a solo plan, which is called Me, and also a team plan, which gives you all of the lovely features and functions that you need to collaborate with team members. Now, obviously, if you wanted to, you could go over to settings, which is just available through this bubble, and click settings and access the personal team layout. So for example, if you just wanted it only for you, which means that all tasks would be assigned to you, there wouldn't be any team-based features that necessarily would get in the way of some of your own personal productivity. So that's great news, really, especially if you're a solopreneur or someone that works on their own routinely. So just before we dive in, guys, a big thank you to SaneBox for sponsoring this month, January. I know it's a little late. Here on the Keep Productive YouTube channel, they have given me $25 credit below for your first account, which is amazing. So if you were looking for an email reduction system, a way to reduce that terrible email overwhelm, this is definitely the tool for you. SaneBox, I've been using it for several months now, maybe 7 or 8 months since Newton died, and it's been a great way to reduce the amount of stress coming into your inbox, and it helps to filter out newsletters, unimportant emails, and so much more. I honestly find it so valuable, and it helps me from going insane. So definitely check out SaneBox. As I mentioned, there's $25 credit below if you want to get started with your account. So as you can see here up in the top area, you've got time, list and board, and these are your different viewing options. What's quite nice about this project manager is very traditional to project management applications. It has lots of different views, allowing you to do a lot more with your tasks and projects. So here in this view called time, you naturally get the ability to manipulate where your task is in reference to a week. You could even get a day view. So for example, if you wanted to add a simple task here, you can. So for example, in this case, could be record YouTube video, and you can add a task there very easily. You can also view in a month view as well, something that I know a lot of people like to do. And naturally, you get all of these lovely filtering abilities. So for example, if you want to search for a task, if you want to show the subtasks, then you can change the status of the task. A lot of these will be open. But for example, if it was in a different status, you can see that. That comes a bit more relevant when you're in the boards area, as well as filtering, saved filters if you come back to a routine filter that you used. And over here, you can actually filter by the time format. So for example, you could set it for 24 hours. You could show the week number, as well as other items like assignee, priority, estimated time, time tracking, location, subtasks, parent name, and tags. And this is something we'll dive into when we talk about the actual task details, because that is something that is pretty nice when you're getting started. Now under the second viewing option, you've got lists, and this is very simply a list view. You have all of your projects here, and you can actually dig deep into the project. You can give it a due date. You can even give it a color if you wanted to. For example, if I wanted to make this blue, it just makes everything a lot easier to view. I guess if you've got loads of projects, you can even add the description as well as attachments as well. And we'll dive into what limits you have on attachments a bit later. So naturally, all the tasks below appear relevant to that project. And if I wanted to change the details, I can actually click in and change the status here. Very easy to do, and something that I know a lot of people find valuable. So for example, I can put that in the running status and it will change the actual origin of that. Now, if I wanted to, I could highlight some of the different areas. So for example, if I highlighted this task, I can go up here and actually change a lot of the settings. So for example, multi-select, I can select assignees to this one if you work with a team. You can set statuses, add tags themselves, convert them to subtasks, move tasks, set due dates, and even set priority level. So for example, if I wanted to give it a priority level of just a normal, that priority level would appear there. It's very much unlike maybe like Notion or Airtable, where you can manipulate this sort of area, but it does have a host of traditional project management layouts, which I know a lot of people will like. It's a project manager at heart. Let's just say that for the least. And if you dismiss that, that will go away and changes will be made, and you can do that to multiple things. Now you still get the same lovely filtering and status tweaks, as well as the saved filter area. So that's great news if you're looking to continue to lay that out. Now, one thing I want to say as well is obviously this is just for all of the projects inside of a certain space. If you click into this, you can see over here you've got all spaces. So for example, you can create projects per space, and space is literally, sorry, for example, you could have a space and lots of different projects underneath it. So for example, if I went into freelance, you'd be able to see all of the relevant freelance tasks, or Francesco's space, and this could be a team one, you can access everything there. And if you wanted to see all spaces at one time, then that's great. You can see that all accessible there. You can pull this tray out and actually filter it based on whether a task is included a comment, subtask, or checklist, and you can change your view as well. So for example, you could put YouTube here or create a new space. And creating a new space is really easy. They do have a host of templates. So for example, if you wanted to create a template by saving, you can do so. So for example, let's just create a space for the purposes of this video. So let's just create a personal area. If I click done, you can make it private or for team only, and you can share it with certain people. You can actually choose the task status. You can actually have a custom layout. So for example, you wanted to have doing, done. For example, you could create your own structure. You can use a template like Scrum, Marketing, Kanban as a little setup, or even content. So for example, if you wanted to create everything from scratch, you can, and even add a new template there. You can choose the actual ClickUp apps you use inside it. So for example, if you wanted to add time tracking, that's great. If you didn't want to have tags, very similar to another app that we reviewed here on the channel called Marvin. You can even have custom fields and time estimates. So it's really easy, and naturally, once you review your space, you can go ahead and create it. We won't create it for this demonstration because we've already got enough to demonstrate with. Let's move on to the final viewing option, which is boards, and this is very traditional. You can essentially move stuff between the boards. So for example, if I wanted to change the status, I could click into the task and actually move it. So for example, if I wanted to move it to concept, I can do so, and you can just move it across the statuses. Now you can see it's moved over to here, and it's pretty much happy days to go on with. You can naturally edit the tags, set the priority level, set the due date, and even give the task an estimated period of time to work with. And that's great news because naturally, once you start adding details, they'll appear. For example, you can see I've got some due dates here, and naturally you can obviously multitask like you would inside of lists. Now, the great news is you can add tasks to this area, and it works very similar to a board layout. I found nothing wrong with this sort of experience. Now, one thing I wanted to say is that the real magic is where you click into a task. So for example, let's open up this here. you can see that you've got an entirely new card experience. So this is really good for teams, I would say, especially if they want to collaborate. You can start up here, and it's very simply, you get to see the sort of breadcrumbs of where this task is, and you can even move the task to a different area. Now, if you wanted to move it quickly to another team channel, you can do so, or move it to another space as well, or another project, which is very easy and very easy to get on with. So you can actually move the status as well. You can add or change the people who are assigned to it. You can set a priority level. For example, in this case, I'll set it as urgent, and you can even edit the tasks here. So for example, if I wanted to add the tag filming, I would create that tag and it would appear here. I can edit the tags as well as the dependencies as well. So for example, if you wanted to have a waiting on, so for example, the task that must be completed before this task, or the tasks that are blocking it or bottlenecking it, you can have that there, which is very nice. Let me just show you how that works. So for example, what other tasks am I waiting on? For example, it could be scripting. And you could, if I just sort of went and found the scripting task I created earlier, you can see there, it's actually waiting on scripting to be done. And that could be really helpful when you create Gantt charts later on. I'll explain that near the end. So you can also create dependencies on blocking as well. So for example, that will really help you to coordinate your tasks. So for example, you can add a bit more description here. You can even add images, links, files, as well as code as well if you want to. And naturally, you can see the history of that. History should appear on this right-hand side, which makes it super easy to do. You also have the ability to add new sort of subtasks or checklists. So for example, if you want to add a beautiful checklist there, you can do so, and you can even add even more, and even add separate checklists. So it doesn't limit you just to one checklist. You can have many even subtasks as well. You can add attachments here. That's very easy to do. And on this right hand side, you can see the details like last updated, as well as the logged time. So for example, if I wanted to log 10 minutes of the actual task, 10 minutes, and I click add. So you can see here 10 minutes have been logged of manual time. So for example, if you just wanted to be able to keep track of that, you can estimate the task time. So for example, I know this is going to take me 30 minutes to record this one. And once you press save, you can see that obviously the estimate's there and also the time logged there. So for example, if I wanted to add another entry, I could even add between a certain date and time if you're looking to backlog certain dates, which is very helpful if you work in a team. You can even create this as a repeating task. You can set a start date, a due date, which is all very helpful. And you can even have watchers of a task. So for example, if lots of people are working on it, that's great news. So you can also tag people. So for example, you can assign a comment. You can mention someone. You mention a task. So for example, if I'm like, okay, I want to mention, if I click this one, I can also mention, scripting. When's that going to be done? When's this going to be done? And you can obviously comment and it will appear in a very rich format here. So that's quite a nice way of doing it. You can even assign it here, delete it and modify it. What I quite like is you minimize a task. So obviously it goes back down here and everything is viewed very nicely from this. So it's very rich in terms of what you can see. You can remove it from the tray. So you may see at the bottom here that you've got the ability to see a tray task. So for example, you can quickly load them. You can remove it from the tray just by pressing that little X and it becomes a very quick access, very easy. Now I'll explain this little button down here because I don't want to distract you from stuff. Let's move back to the list view because let's just start to dive into a few of the small things that they've added that is a really nice experience inside of this application. So up in the top right hand corner, you can press add task. You can obviously add the location of the task. You can even star it, add a description, add subtasks, all the stuff I just explained to you, which is quite nice. So very simple. You can even save a task as a draft. Now up here, let's just explain these different areas. You've got search. So for example, you can search for different areas. You can search inside of spaces and things that other people have viewed as well, which is very nice. And what's quite nice as well is if you want to change that view. So for example, search, you want to change that. That's quite easy to do. You have access to something called quick switch. So for example, if I go to the left-hand side, if I open it up, you can see K is the option for quick switch. So for example, if I wanted to quickly jump to, let me not be an idiot with spelling. If I quickly jump to script, I didn't like that one. Let's say YouTube, the space, I can quickly do that. And using K, I'm quickly able to access everything. Now up here, I've got something called goals. So if you want to set a goal for you and your team, that's really nice. So you have like this sort of centralized column, who's the owner for it, who has access to the goal, what's the date for it, and what's the description. So being really clear on what you do. That's a really nice area, and it's something that if you want to see, for example, you don't necessarily have a project dashboard area for your team, you can have definitely goals set there. Now, one thing a lot of people rave about is this box viewing option. So for example, if you wanted to see anything that one team member is working at any given time, you can. So for example, you wouldn't see this in this area because it's actually been assigned to me only at the moment. But you can, for example, see a box view per person that works on your team. A lot of people quite like this because you're able to see the assigned comments for you or for anyone that they're working on. You want to see if one person in a team is working on stuff and what they actually worked on during the day. So for example, what they ticked off and what they actually were assigned and are really working on. So that's quite nice. You've also got reporting as well. So for example, you can see, who's worked on stuff, what's been worked on. This is the unlimited plan, which we'll dive into in a bit, where you can see actually a breakdown of the reporting. But for simply seeing completed tasks broken down by assignee, you can do. And if you wanted to get like time tracked estimate and stuff like that, that's going to be accessible through the team plans. So up here, you've got notifications. You can see your cleared notifications, new notifications, and also a lovely settings page. I was quite impressed by the settings page. So through the settings page, you can obviously access all of the users you've got through there. So for example, who's been assigned, the spaces you've created, and what apps are assigned to them. So for example, if you accidentally didn't add a Click app to it, for example, like the ability to add due dates or time tracking, then you can add it later, which is quite nice. So some of the features I actually were demonstrating, I didn't actually have available. So for example, you can have custom fields and lots more. So it's quite interesting the way they've done it. You've also got import and export. This is more for teams who, for example, have come from Asana or have come from Trello or Jira or Todoist or a CSV, and they do have a Basecamp one coming soon. You can go into ClickUp extensions, ClickUp extensions, and actually see each task and how they work. So for example, this is very similar to Marvin and works very, very well actually. You can see this one's been enabled or disabled because I have set it to a personal workspace. Now, some of the integration side, you can connect it with Slack. So for example, if any team member has assigned something, then it can get nudged to you, and you can even create tasks inside there. There's a full description of how to set that up. So for example, it says here you can create tasks inside using the command and even keep track of tasks. So for example, you can search for certain comments and even customize your notifications there. You've also got GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, Zapier, and also a few, for example, this is the Chrome extension. You can obviously track time using the Chrome extension app. You've also got a connection with Harvest, Toggle if you and your team use it, Everhour, which is another tracker, and also Timely, another one with Time Doctor coming soon, and a host of others like Time and I and Clockify. Wow, that rhymes. So let's dive into a little bit about the upgrade. So the upgrade's really simple. It's actually one of the most simplest project management models I've found. I'm so sorry this isn't American pricing. I should have definitely set that before the video. So free is free forever. You don't pay anything. You can have unlimited projects and spaces, which is quite nice. So let me just go up here and turn this system off. So for example, you can see here that even if you used it for a team, it's free forever with unlimited projects, but you only have 100 megabytes. And that's something that a lot of people will struggle with. So on the unlimited, which is probably the most popular one, you pay, I think it's like $5 per month per user. And that's the annual pricing. The monthly pricing, I believe probably would be about $8, which is the rough price of a project management out there. You get unlimited storage, the advanced reporting that we demonstrated, the Google Drive and Dropbox connection. So for example, if you wanted to search inside of ClickUp for a certain application, you can find it. You've also got unlimited custom fields, 5 guests and 2 extra seats, which is quite nice. And you can also set permissions, which is quite nice, especially if you and your team are just starting out. You've also got guest visibility. And just to be clear, for example, you wanted to have that one per user. It's going to obviously be $8 per user per month. So if you have 10 users, it's going to cost you $80 plus VAT. So just make sure you're aware of that. Traditional project management setup. You can also apparently make them a deal. So for example, if you wanted to chat with them directly about whether you have tons of members that just want to use the unlimited plan, that could be quite good if you just wanted to chat with their team there. So you also have a business and enterprise plan. The business plan is much more tailored towards more guests being available. So if you have clients you work with, you also have Google SSO, which is a security, as well as two-step authentication. Enterprise-wise, you have HIPAA compliance, which a lot of people like, and that's going to probably be about $30. I'm going to include the pricing separately in the description below. You also have single sign-on SSO and also contract and legal review, as well as an increased API limits. There are API limits, but I'm not too aware of them. There's probably an ability to chat with the team directly if you want to look into the API side of stuff a little further. Now on this left-hand side, you also have the ability to set your profile and all of the lovely stuff, for example, like preferences. Whether you have your notepad on, this is something that I'll explain near at the end. High contrast mode, global font view, there's loads, markdown. You also have the ability to see the teams you've added already, what notifications you have set up, and naturally the cloud storage abilities. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is this is turning into a big review, is the Google Calendar setup. You do have Google Calendar two-way sync. So for example, you can see your ClickUp tasks inside of Google Calendar, and that's really easy. You can even connect it up with your scheduled tasks with a one-way sync with Apple Calendar, Outlook, and iCal. Now, just a few other things to mention. Now, if I go back into my area and I take this away, as I said, that's a sort of niggliness with the, when you're navigating. It's a little bit trickier than I would say normally. If you go over to Time View, you can see there's an area called Gantt, and I believe Gantt is only available through one of the paid plans. So if I click Try Gantt, obviously get access to that, and you can naturally start using the Gantt chart. So that's I'm not an expert at Gantt charts, but I will be doing Gantt chart review, so I definitely need to get clued up on Gantt charts. But you can see here that obviously it naturally works in a very similar way to a basic Gantt chart, but you do have a few other additional things like the calculate critical path is something that a lot of people use, as well as naturally the ability to see all the dependencies, and that's where the dependencies earlier came in. Now you can view it per area or space, and per week, per month, so you can see all of your projects at a glance, which is super nice. Now that is the entirety of ClickUp. Very simply explained, they also have a dark mode for those people out there who particularly love the dark mode applications. It is something that first impressions I'm impressed with, mainly because it's got a solo plan, an individual plan that a lot of people will find valuable, and the free plan is pretty amazing too. It's quite good, if you just want to use it, unlimited projects and spaces between you and a small team. And I believe, the unlimited pricing was $9 per month. So not $8, it's $9. And if you went for the annual plan, it's $5 per month. So a lot cheaper, and obviously gives you access to a little bit more. Now, I am impressed by this application. They do a host of other things that I want to highlight as well, because I have been impressed by this application. So they host a weekly webinar, and you can get clickup.com/webinar to find that, which is quite good. Notepad, which is quite cool. So for example, in the bottom right hand corner, you can basically use this notepad across the web. So for example, you can install it on a Chrome extension and be able to add notes to it. So it's quite cool in being a mini notepad, like a text notepad for your day. They also have an awesome blog and a dedicated page. So for example, if you're looking for you're looking at Todoist alternatives, and they compare Todoist to this and most other applications like Trello and other resources. I'll include the Todoist example. My main reason in including it is because I find that people will see the similar. Obviously, you have to take into account that they are promoting ClickUp through this, but you obviously can sit down and work out what the differences are in terms of features. So guys, that is ClickUp. I hope you enjoyed this feature. Thank you very much to SaneBox for sponsoring today's video. It's very kind of them. You can check out and get $25 credit in the description below. I'm a user of SaneBox and I'm a big fan of their application. So guys, a huge thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this feature. I hope it was valuable to you. If you're looking at ClickUp, I will do a deeper dive if you want me to. Let me know in the comments below what you think of ClickUp. If you are brand new to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe and do like this video if you found a lot of value, and do share with someone on LinkedIn or another professional that is looking for a resource like this. Anyway guys, thank you so much. It was Francesco here, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Don't be afraid to drop me an email at francesco@keyproductive.com if you have any queries about project managers or your own personal setup. I'm happy to help and recommend a couple of applications. All right, thank you very much guys. I will see you guys very, very soon. Cheers.